Evan walked through the ancient forest with slow, careful steps. The night was cold, but the trees around him glowed with soft green light, as if guiding him somewhere he did not understand. He had been lost for hours. His map made no sense. His compass did not move. The forest itself felt alive, pushing him deeper and deeper between tall silver trees. He had heard stories about the Elven realm since he was a child, stories saying humans should never enter it. But now, without meaning to, he was standing in the middle of it. He felt watched. He felt small. Every shadow looked like a silent pair of eyes. Then he saw it. A warm glow between the trees, a shape of light. A building. He walked closer, and froze in shock. It was a tavern. An elven tavern, hidden deep inside the glowing forest. Soft golden lanterns hung outside the wooden door. Music floated out, calm bard music, soft and magical, like a dream. For a moment, Evan forgot his fear. The sound was beautiful, peaceful, safe. He pushed the door open. The music stopped. Instant silence. Every elf inside turned toward him. Their long silver hair shined under lantern light. Their eyes glowed faint blue. Their hands slowly moved to their weapons. Evan felt his heart jump. He knew he wasn't supposed to be here. Humans never came this deep. Humans were not welcome in sacred elven places. But he had no choice. He needed warmth. He needed help. The tavern smelled of wood, herbs, and soft smoke from the glowing fireplace in the corner. A gentle magical mist drifted around the ceiling. But all that beauty turned cold the moment every elf stood up and stared at him. One elf guard stepped forward. His voice was hard and controlled. "What is a human doing in our sacred place?" Evan swallowed, trying to stay calm. I'm lost," he said softly. "My path disappeared. I just need help to find the way out." The elf guard's face did not change. His hand stayed on his sword. "No human enters this tavern. No human crosses this border." Whispers spread through the room like wind. "He should not be here. This is forbidden. This is dangerous." Evan felt the pressure around him grow heavier. His breathing became tight. He wished he had turned back earlier. Then something unexpected happened. A soft, shocked voice came from the far corner. "Wait." A young elf girl stood up from her table. Her cloak was dark blue, and a silver harp rested beside her. She looked at Evan with wide, shining eyes that did not hold anger, but recognition. "I know him," she whispered. The entire tavern froze again. The guards turned to her in confusion. "You know this human?" She nodded slowly. "I saw him in a dream." The elves gasped. Dream visions were rare and taken seriously. The girl stepped closer to Evan, her voice trembling. "The prophecy said he would come on a cold night, a human traveler with a lost path, a human who carries a light he does not know about." Evan felt confused. Prophecy? Light? What did she mean? "I think you're mistaken," he said nervously. "I'm just a lost guy. Nothing special." But the elves around him looked terrified, not angry. One whispered, "If the prophecy is real, then the darkness will follow him." Another whispered, "We must protect the tavern." Another said, "Or we must send him back before it is too late." Lanterns flickered as if reacting to the tension. The wooden floor almost vibrated. The magical air of the tavern grew colder. The elf bard touched her harp gently. A soft light formed around her fingers. She looked at Evan again. "The forest brought you here for a reason," she said. "Something is coming, something ancient, and you are the key." The guard stepped closer to Evan, but instead of anger, there was fear in his eyes. "Human, who are you really?" Evan had no answer. He felt a sinking dread in his stomach. He felt watched. He felt chosen. And somewhere, far outside the tavern, deep in the darkness of the forest, something huge began to move. The elves heard it. The bard heard it. Evan heard it. The night air trembled. The lantern light dimmed. The music inside the tavern felt like it was holding its breath. Something ancient was coming for him. And he didn't even know why. The tavern remained silent, as if the whole building was holding its breath. Evan stood in the middle of the wooden floor, surrounded by glowing eyes, unsure if he should speak or run. The elves did not move. Only the elf bard, the girl with the silver harp, walked slowly toward him. Her steps soft but certain. Her name was Lyriel, and the moment she stepped in front of Evan, the lanterns above flickered again. It felt like the light inside the tavern recognized her. And him. Lyriel studied Evan's face like she was searching for something hidden behind his eyes. "You carry a light," she whispered. "But you do not know it." Evan almost laughed. From nervousness. "Light? I don't even have a flashlight." But Lyriel did not smile. Her voice grew softer, almost frightened. "No, human, not that kind of light. I saw it in my vision. A light that wakes only in danger. A light that listens to your heart." Evan stepped back slightly. He felt strange, as if something inside him was stirring something he could not name. Before he could speak, the wooden floor shook again. This time harder. The bottles on the counter rattled. A lantern chain swung from side to side like a warning sign. The elves looked at each other with worry. "It is getting closer," an older elf whispered. "We do not have much time." Lyriel placed her hand gently on Evan's arm. Her touch was warm, but carried a strange tingling, like soft energy moving through skin. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "I will show them," she said. She walked to the center of the tavern. Every elf stepped back, forming a wide circle around her. She lifted her silver harp, touched the first string, and the entire tavern glowed. A wave of blue light spread from her fingertips, drifting through the air like tiny stars. The old wooden walls shimmered. The table shook lightly. Then, the light moved toward Evan. It floated around him like fireflies. It circled him. It wrapped around him, and the elves gasped. A faint golden shine appeared around Evan's chest, like a hidden flame waking up inside him. His heart pounded hard. It was warm, too warm, but not painful. It felt like someone had placed a small sun near his ribs. Evan looked down at his hands. They weren't glowing, but the air around them shimmered with faint gold dust. What is happening?" Lyriel opened her eyes. They glowed bright blue, full of certainty and fear. "The light chose you," she said, "just like the prophecy said." The elves began whispering again. "He really is the human from the vision." "But how? Humans cannot hold magic. The darkness will come faster. We must decide. If we protect him or send him away." Evan shook his head. "I don't want magic. I don't want a prophecy. I just want to go home." Lyriel looked at him with sadness. "You cannot leave now. The forest has marked you. If you step outside, it will follow." A guard stepped forward angrily. "What if the prophecy is wrong? What if he brings danger to us all?" Lyriel's voice sharpened. "Without him, the tavern will fall." The guard clenched his jaw but said nothing. Evan felt dizzy. His heart still glowed faintly under his shirt. He pressed his hand against his chest, trying to calm himself. The glowing dust around him faded slowly, but the warmth stayed. He looked at Lyriel. "You said the light listens to my heart. What does that even mean?" Lyriel touched a harp string. Again, the sound was soft, like wind touching glass. "Magic responds to truth. It answers courage. It follows what you feel, not what you pretend to be." Evan frowned. "But I am not brave." She stepped closer. "You came into a forbidden forest. You walked alone in the cold night. You stepped into a tavern full of elves who could have killed you. You stood your ground." She looked right into his eyes. "You are braver than you think." Evan swallowed hard. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Not even humans. Before he could answer, the tavern shook again, this time so violently that dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered wildly. A deep, distant roar echoed through the forest. Every elf froze. Every head turned toward the door. Even the bards stopped breathing for a moment. Lyriel whispered, her voice trembling for the first time. "It's here." The forest outside went silent. No wind. No birds, no magic hum. Only stillness, heavy and threatening. Evan felt his glowing warmth pulse again, as if reacting to the danger coming closer. "What is here?" he asked quietly. Lyriel answered without taking her eyes off the door. "The darkness that hunts the chosen human." Evan felt his blood turn cold. The tavern door creaked. The lanterns dimmed. And something ancient breathed just outside. The tavern lights trembled as the ancient breath outside slowly faded. No one dared to move. Even the fire in the corner fireplace crackled softly, as if afraid to make noise. Evan felt his chest tighten. He didn't want to believe it, but every elf's reaction told him one thing: whatever was outside was here for him. Lyriel stepped closer to him, her glowing blue eyes steady but full of worry. "Stay near me," she whispered. "The tavern is protected by old spells, but only if the Chosen One remains inside." "The Chosen One?" Evan whispered back. "I didn't choose anything." Lyriel's voice softened. "The spell chose you." Evan opened his mouth to ask how, but something interrupted him. From the far end of the tavern, a massive wooden shelf began to shake. Dust fell from its top. The bottles clinked together. The elves all turned their heads as one. The shelf moved. Not from the shaking, not from the rumbling outside. It moved on its own. Books began sliding out from the old wooden structure, one by one, some thin, some thick, some ancient and covered in strange runes. The books floated into the air, like they were being pulled by invisible threads. Evan stepped back. "What is going on?" Lyriel whispered. The spell library woke up. The elves' eyes widened. Even the guards looked nervous now. The glowing books rotated above the room, forming a slow circle that filled the tavern with soft golden light. Then, suddenly thump. One heavy book fell to the center table, with a shockwave that made the lantern sway. The cover opened on its own. A golden flame rose from the pages, twisting in the air into a symbol. The outline of a human hand with a shining center. Lyriel gasped. "That is the mark of the Heartfire." Evan blinked. "Heartfire?" An elder elf walked forward, her movements slow and respectful. She spoke with a tired but strong voice. "It is the oldest magic of our realm. A magic that can only rest inside a human soul. We believed it lost for 1,000 years. Evan stared at the glowing hand symbol. "Why me? Why would this choose me?" The elder elf pointed at his chest. "Because it woke inside you." Evan looked down. His shirt glowed faintly again. The same golden warmth he felt earlier now, pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. The elder elf opened the book fully. Runes shifted across the pages, rearranging themselves like living ink until they formed readable text. She read aloud. "When the forest grows silent and the shadow rises, a human of wandering steps will awaken the Heartfire. He will either light the realm or destroy it." The last line struck Evan like a punch. "Destroy it? I don't want to destroy anything." Lyriel placed a calming hand on his arm. "Prophecies speak of possibility, not fate. They warn, not condemn, but I don't even know how to use magic." Lyriel nodded. "That is why the tavern reacted to you. It is trying to teach you." Before Evan could argue again, the book glowed brighter. A page flipped itself, and a new symbol appeared this time. A swirling dark shape, opposite of the glowing hand. Lyriel's face paled. "That is the shadow mark," the elder elf spoke in a grave tone. "The Heartfire wakes the shadow. They are bound. When one rises, so does the other." Evan felt cold. So the thing outside, Lyriel finished for him, was born the same moment your light woke. A heavy silence filled the tavern. Evan felt like the room was closing in on him, but then, something strange happened. The glowing book lifted again and floated toward Evan, slowly, carefully, like it was approaching its true owner. Evan wanted to step back, but his feet refused to move. The book stopped right in front of him. It hovered at chest height. Then, a soft golden thread shot from the pages and sank into Evan's hand. He gasped and grabbed his wrist. The warmth rushed up his arm, filling his veins like liquid light. Lyriel shouted, "Don't fight it. Let it connect." Evan closed his eyes. He let the warmth flow. He let the magic breathe. When he opened his eyes, the book dropped onto the table with a loud thud, and the glow around him faded. Evan stared at his hand. A faint golden mark now pulsed on his skin. Lyriel looked at him with awe. The Hearthfire has chosen its human. The elves slowly bowed their heads. Not in fear, but in recognition. Before anyone could speak again, the tavern door shook violently. Boom! Dust fell from the ceiling. Lanterns flickered wildly. A deep growl echoed from outside. The shadow had arrived, and it knew where the Hearthfire was. The tavern door shook again, harder this time. The wooden frame groaned like something huge was pushing from the other side. Every elf's hand went to their weapon. Evan felt his marked hand burn with warm light, throbbing in fear and warning. At the same time, outside, the forest lights dimmed one by one. The glowing trees that had looked magical before now looked ghostly and lifeless. A thick mist spread between the branches, crawling toward the tavern like a living creature. Evan swallowed. "Is it already here?" Lyriel stepped beside him. Her voice low. "It followed your light. It will not leave without you." Another thunderous impact crashed against the door. Boom! Dust rained from the ceiling. Even the lanterns hanging above twisted on their chains. The elder elf raised her staff, drawing a glowing circle of runes in the air. The tavern's ancient shield will hold for a moment, but no longer than that. Evan felt ice crawl up his spine. What does it want? Lyriel answered without looking away from the door. It wants the Hearthfire. It wants the power inside you. It was created when your light woke. It is your shadow. Evan remembered the prophecy's words. He will either light the realm or destroy it. A sick feeling spread through his chest. So if it gets me, Lyriel nodded softly. The darkness will spread through every forest, every realm, every home. Evan's breath trembled. I'm not a hero. I don't know how to fight. Lyriel finally turned to him. There was fear in her eyes, but also something stronger. Courage is not about knowing. It is about stepping forward when every part of you wants to run. Before Evan could respond, a loud crack split through the tavern. The wooden door began to splinter. A deep voice, low, ancient, and cold, slid into the room like cold iron scraping stone. Human. I know you are in there. Every elf tensed. The voice was not like a monster growling. It sounded intelligent, hungry, patient. Evan stepped back in pure fear. His glowing hand pulsed again, reacting to the shadow's presence. Lyriel grabbed his arm. Do not show fear. The darkness feeds on fear. If you give it terror, it will grow stronger. That is easy for you to say, Evan whispered. You're not glowing like a cursed lantern. Then, she said firmly, look at me. He did. Her eyes were steady, deep, bright. You are not alone. We stand with you. Before he could answer, the tavern door burst inward. Crash! A wave of black mist exploded inside, hitting everyone like a freezing storm. Lanterns flickered so violently, they almost went out. The tables shook. The magical runes on the walls glowed brighter, struggling to keep the barrier stable. Through the broken doorway, a tall, shadowy shape appeared. It had no face. No legs, no form. Only a massive twisting silhouette made of living darkness. Its presence sucked the warmth out of the room. Frost appeared on the floorboards. The fire in the hearth dimmed to nearly nothing. Heart fire. The creature whispered, its voice like cold smoke sliding across skin. Come to me. Evan felt frozen in place. His legs refused to move. His thoughts drowned in panic. The creature stepped forward and hit the invisible magical barrier. Bright flash shot across the tavern, pushing it back. The elder elf shouted, "Hold the shield. Do not let it enter." Several elves placed their hands on the glowing runes carved in the walls. Their magic connected with the tavern, strengthening the barrier. The shadow struck again, then again. Each impact shook the entire building. Lyriel pulled Evan behind the counter and whispered urgently, "You must awaken more of the heart fire. The shield cannot hold much longer." Evan looked at his hand. The golden mark glowed faintly but weakly. How? How do I awaken it? She placed her hand on his chest, right over his heart. You must call it. You must believe the light belongs to you. Evan shook his head. It doesn't. I'm just a normal guy. Lyriel leaned closer, her voice intense. Normal men do not enter forbidden forests. Normal men do not carry ancient spells inside them. Normal men do not stand between elves and shadow monsters. Another violent strike hit the barrier. Sparks flew. Several elves lost their footing. The shadow was getting through. Evan's heart pounded so hard it hurt. The air shook. The tavern groaned. The shadow roared. Lyriel grabbed his glowing hand and held it tightly. Evan, you must try. Not because you want to be a hero, but because if you don't, everyone here will die. Evan looked around at the elves' fear in their eyes, but also hope. Hope in him. His fears slowly turned into something else. Something new, something warmed. Another hit, another roar. The shield began to crack. Evan closed his eyes. He focused on the warmth in his chest. He breathed in. He whispered, "Light. Please help me." The golden mark flared brighter than before. Lyriel gasped. Yes, that's it. The tavern filled with soft golden light. The shadow outside paused, for the first time. It sounded afraid. Evan opened his eyes. His hand glowed like a small sun. The battle for the tavern was about to begin. The shadow's roar echoed through the tavern like thunder trapped in a metal cage. The barrier flickered again, glowing weakly. Cracks of cold darkness spread across its surface like hungry fingers. The elves struggled to keep their hands on the runes. Some dropped to their knees, gasping for breath. Their magic was fading. Evan stood in the center of the tavern, his hand glowing like a golden flame. The light warmed the air around him, pushing back the frost that crawled across the floor. But it wasn't enough. The shadow outside was too strong, too ancient. Lyriel moved close to him. Her cloak fluttered from the cold wind slipping through the cracks, but her eyes stayed firm. Evan, the heartfire listens to your truth. But we need more. The tavern's shield cannot survive another strike. Evan clenched his glowing hand. Tell me how to use this. I don't know what to do. Lyriel took a deep breath and then said something that made the entire tavern fall silent. I have a shard of light. Every elf froze. Even the elder elf's eyes widened. You never told us, the elder said. Lyriel looked down, guilt filling her face. Because it was forbidden. Because I feared what it meant. Evan felt a strange tension in the room. What is a shard of light? Lyriel slowly reached into her cloak. Her hands trembled. When she pulled them out, something small rested in her palms, a smooth white crystal, glowing faintly like the last spark of a dying star. Gasps filled the tavern. That is a fragment of the ancient core. Impossible. Those were lost. Ages ago. A shard of the first light, Lyriel nodded. I found it years ago. I hid it because I felt something calling me. but it never responded. Until tonight. She looked directly at Evan. When you entered the tavern, the shard woke up. Evan took a hesitant step back. Why would it react to me? Lyriel lifted the shard. The light inside it trembled, as if reaching for him. Because the heart fire inside you is its twin. Evan stared, speechless. The golden warmth in his chest pulsed again, stronger this time. Almost like the shard was pulling at him, Lyriel continued, her voice steady but emotional. This shard contains pure light magic. But only a human can unlock it. Only a heart with heartfire can activate it fully. Evan looked at the glowing crystal. It looked so delicate, yet so powerful. What happens if I activate it? The elder elf answered instead. The shard will release all the light trapped inside. Enough to fight the shadow. Enough to protect us all. Evan felt hope rise inside him. But if that's true, then let's do it. Lyriel's voice shook. There is one more thing. Activating a shard is dangerous. It connects to your soul. If your heart is not strong enough, the light will overwhelm you. Evan swallowed hard. What does that mean? Lyriel stepped closer, her eyes full of fear. It means you could die. The tavern went silent. Even the shadow outside paused for a moment. Evan felt his hands go cold. Die? He didn't want that. He never asked for any of this. He just wanted to survive the night, go home, live a normal life. This wasn't his world. These weren't his battles. He looked at the elves, exhausted and trembling as they held the shield. He looked at Lyriel, her face brave but afraid for him. He looked at his glowing hand, the mark pulsing like a heartbeat. If he did nothing, the shadow would break in. Everyone inside would die. Humans, elves, everyone. And the darkness would spread beyond the forest. He couldn't let that happen. Slowly, with shaky breath, Evan extended his hand toward the shard. Lyriel's eyes widened. You're sure? No. Evan admitted softly. But if I don't try, nobody else can. She placed the shard into his palm. The moment it touched his skin, the tavern exploded with light. A golden beam shot through the ceiling. Lanterns burst with warm radiance. The runes on the walls flared brighter than ever before. Every elf shielded their eyes. Evan screamed, not in pain, but in shock. The shard melted into his hand like warm liquid, sinking into his flesh and disappearing. The golden mark on his hand grew brighter and brighter until it lit the entire tavern. Like a miniature sun, Lyriel held his shoulders tightly. Stay with me, do not lose focus. Evan felt the light spreading through him, into his arms, into his spine, into his heart. It was not burning him. It was becoming him. The tavern shook violently as the shadow struck the barrier again. But this time the shield held strong. A new light rose behind Evan's eyes. A power he had never felt. A courage he never knew he had. He opened his eyes. They glowed bright gold. Lyriel stepped back in awe. The human of Heartfire has awakened. Outside, the shadow let out a furious roar. The final confrontation was coming. The tavern walls shook with a force that felt like a mountain collapsing. The shadow outside screamed again, a long deep cry that made the tables rattle and the lanterns swing wildly. But this time, something inside the tavern screamed back. Light. Pure golden light. Evan stood in the center of the room, his body glowing so brightly that the cracked floorboards reflected his shine. The heartfire mark on his hand pulsed like a heartbeat, steady, powerful, alive. The elves stared at him in shocked silence. He awakened it. The shard accepted him. He really is the chosen one. But Evan barely heard them. The warmth inside him burned like the sun. And thunder mixed together. It frightened him. It thrilled him. It made him feel alive in a way he had never felt before. Lyriel stepped beside him, breathless. Evan, you are ready. He shook his head quickly. Ready for what? I don't know what to do. She pointed at the tavern door, where the Darkness slammed again and again against the weakening shield for the final strike. The elder elf shouted to the guards, "Hold the shield! Just a little longer." But the shadow roared louder, shaking the whole building. Frost spread across the walls. Cracks formed in the barrier. Elves cried out as their strength faded. Evan felt the urgency, felt the fear around him, felt the light inside him pushing outward, begging to be used. Lyriel held his glowing hand, and whispered, "The heartfire answers courage, so give it yours." Evan closed his eyes. He breathed in slowly, and then he stepped forward. Entire tavern gasped. Evan walked toward the door, toward the cracking barrier, toward the roaring darkness that wanted him most. His steps were shaky at first, but with each step, the golden glow around his body grew brighter. The shadow sensed him. It shrieked with hunger, with fury, with fear. The tavern door burst inward, the shield flickering like a dying candle. The darkness poured through the doorway like thick black smoke, twisting into claws and fangs. Elves backed away, terrified. Lyriel shouted, "Evan, now!" Evan raised his glowing hand. The golden mark blazed like a sun exploding. The shadow rushed it. Evan shouted, not a magical word, not a spell, but the only thing he had, "I'm not afraid of you." The light burst from his hand. A beam of pure gold shot across the tavern, slamming into the shadow. The impact shook the entire forest. The shadow roared in agony as the light burned through its smoky form. But the darkness was strong. It pushed forward, resisting the light, shrinking and expanding like a living storm. Evan felt the pressure. He felt his legs shaking. He felt the light inside him fighting hard. Lyriel yelled, "Focus, Evan. Believe the light is yours." He gritted his teeth. His arm trembled as he poured everything he had into the beam. Memories flashed through his mind, his lonely walks, his doubts, his normal simple life. And the moment he stepped into this magical world where everything changed. "I'm done running," he whispered. He forced more power out. The golden beam grew wider, brighter, hotter. The shadow shrieked louder than ever. Its form cracked. Pieces of darkness fell away like shattered glass made of smoke. The elves felt the shift. Their fear turned into hope. The elder elf shouted, "Push it back, human. Drive it out." Evan shouted again and stepped forward, pushing the beam harder. The light scorched the floor, burned through the mist, and hit the shadow so hard that the entire tavern glowed like a sunrise. The shadow screamed, not in anger this time, but in terror. It began to melt, then collapse, then break apart completely into tiny sparks of black dust. The last piece tried to escape through the roof. Evan raised his hand and fired one final blast. Boom. Sich. The remaining darkness evaporated like smoke in the wind. Silence fell slowly. The golden glow around Evan faded. The tavern lights steadied. The frost melted from the walls. The forest outside sighed with relief, magic returning to its natural glow. Evan dropped to his knees, exhausted. Lyriel rushed to him. She held his shoulders, tears in her eyes. "You did it. Evan, you saved us." He breathed slowly, chest rising and falling like he had run miles. Didn't think I could." Lyriel smiled softly. "That is why you could." The elves surrounded him, bowing their heads, something they had never done to a human before. The elder elf spoke with deep respect. "You carry the heartfire with honor, and now you carry our gratitude." Evan looked around at their faces. Fear turned to hope, doubt turned to belief. For the first time in his life, he felt something new, belonging, but the journey was not finished. Lyriel looked toward the forest with worry. The shadow is gone, but its master will learn of this. The real danger begins now. Evan stood. Slowly, the golden mark on his hand still glowing softly. "Then I guess we keep fighting." The elves nodded. A new guardian had awakened. The enchanted forest was silent after the battle, so silent that even the glowing leaves seemed to breathe slowly again. The storm of darkness was gone. The tavern stood cracked but alive. The elves inside were exhausted, but their hearts were. Finally steady. Evan stood among them, his hand still glowing softly with the golden heartfire mark. He felt tired in every bone, but there was a quiet peace inside him. A peace he had never felt in his old human world. Lyriel stepped beside him, her silver harp resting against her back. Her eyes, usually calm and bright, now held something deeper: respect, relief, and something gentle she had never shown before. "You saved us," she whispered. Evan shook his head slowly. "We saved each other." The elder elf approached, leaning on her staff, her voice trembling with old magic. "Human Evan, the Heartfire chose wisely. You awakened a power that our realm believed lost for 1,000 years." Evan looked at his glowing hand. The mark pulsed lightly with his heartbeat, like a reminder that something ancient lived inside him now. "But I still don't understand why me," the elder smiled. "The Heartfire does not choose strength. It chooses heart." Evan looked confused. "Heart?" Lyriel explained softly. "Magic does not follow blood, power, or skill. It follows courage, compassion, and truth. When you walked into this tavern, you didn't know fear was waiting. You didn't know danger would find you, but still, you walked forward." The elder nodded. "That is why the light woke in you." Evan didn't know what to say. He had lived a simple, quiet life before this night. But standing here among elves who once feared him, who now bowed their heads in gratitude, he felt something shift inside him, a purpose, a belonging, a destiny he never expected. Suddenly, a wind passed through the tavern, the kind that carried messages, not air. The lantern flames flickered into a single direction, pointing toward the deeper forest. Lyriel's face turned serious. "Someone is coming." Evan tensed. "Another shadow?" She shook her head. "Worse, the Shadow Lord. The being who created the darkness you fought." The elves around them stiffened. Fear flashed across their faces. The elder gripped her staff tightly. "He will sense the death of his creature, and he will come searching for the source of the light that destroyed it." Evan felt a chill. "So he's coming for me?" Lyriel didn't lie. She nodded slowly. "Yes." But then she placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "But we will not let him take you." Evan shook his head. "I won't hide. If the Heartfire chose me, then I have to stand for your realm." The elder elf looked at him with deep approval. "Your courage honors us." A long silence settled over the tavern. Then Lyriel walked forward and placed something in Evan's hand. Soft silver chain with a glowing stone at the center shaped like a small tear of light. "This belonged to my mother," she said. "She used it to guide lost travelers. And tonight, you were the one who needed guidance." Evan looked down at the glowing necklace. "It pulsed in perfect rhythm with his Heartfire mark. It matches my light." Lyriel nodded. "Because it was always meant for someone like you." Evan felt warmth rise in his chest again, gentle this time. Peaceful. "Thank you for believing in me." Her voice softened. "I didn't believe in the prophecy. I believed in you." The elves gathered at the tavern door, looking into the forest's glowing darkness. They bowed to Evan, not as a human visitor, but as their guardian. The elder elf said loudly, "Tonight, a human of light saved the elven realm." Evan's heart pounded, not from fear this time, but from something greater. Pride. Lyriel smiled gently. "So, what will you do now?" Evan looked out into the glowing forest, the place that once terrified him, now calling him forward. "I think I'll stay," he said with a small smile. "Your world needs light, and somehow, I think I'm part of it." Lyriel nodded, her eyes warm. "Then you shall walk with us." The elves raised their weapons, not in fear, But in salute, Evan stepped forward, the golden mark on his hand shining like a small sun in the night. The forest lit up around him. The tavern glowed behind him. The elven realm whispered with new hope, because the heartfire was no longer lost. It lived in a human now. A human who faced darkness and chose light. And tonight, under the glowing trees, the elven realm gained a new guardian.